Okay. And your backup is going well, you said?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So to start from scratch, basically, what we've kind of done so far is like we've worked on a workflow with because there's kind of three different ways that you can like start Premiere projects essentially, and like there's the classic just individual Premiere project, there's Productions, and then there's I think what's called team projects, which is something that Mel is kind of looking into further, and we kind of want to do some more experimenting with that, just because we just want to work out the kinks and figure out how like stable that could be for like big projects and big team collaborations. But like, and so because it could make certain things easier, but with Premiere Productions, it's the closest you can get to mirroring an Avid project essentially. So, I think we just found that like this is the most confident I think we are in terms of like if we wanted to start a Premiere project tomorrow, this would probably be the way to do it just because it's the most familiar with everyone. Um, so I'm just gonna start opening up Premiere. And I'll just go step by step with just how it works with opening the project and
That too.
Do
oh,
we do this along with you?
yeah. If you guys can follow along, all the better. So yeah, if you want to just take a second to open Premiere first, you can wait for a second. Because I guess I mean Mel, like I mean theoretically, it's like one person is still going to like start the project essentially and then just pass it around to everyone. It's like no one really would have to worry about like starting something from scratch, you think? Like because I know
Well, I think it would be similar to the current Avid workflow,
Mhm.
right? Where AE
Yeah,
will create
I
it.
mean
I mean, you
yeah,
can start it. Um,
because I mean
I
just
think walk us through how to start one too, though. I think we should all have that ability and know
yeah,
how.
yeah.
We
So
don't already.
right.
They mine shows up as a uh the the production test. Are we doing the production test or the other one?
the
The Showtime Q2 movies?
no, yeah, it's the project file that I have on the temp G drive. It's
That's
like
one's got a
it's yeah, Premiere
that's
Production.
a I think that's a production set,
Mhm.
not an individual project.
Yeah,
So
It's in the work folder, his work folder. You'll find it.
Premiere Production Test AS.
yes.
Yeah. And then the only thing that's in there that looks openable is a prod set,
Go
which
to
is
he's got a work folder. It says Slacker work folders. Go in there.
uh,
Yeah, when it
oh
opens.
that. Oh, eesh. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Uh, it's actually yeah, because
This is in the shared drives.
yeah, the shared G drive.
For right now, all we should be doing is opening Premiere.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna because Mel, like with productions, like the way you start a new production at least is like you go there and then it'll it'll basically tell you where you want to save the production, but then I guess it's like I guess you would have to first start a project in that production to then create like those like scratch discs settings and all that like that
well,
kind
no,
of
I mean you would actually do it from there and then set up all
yeah
that stuff after it's created. So
yeah
Mine has to. I have to link all the media. I'm assuming there's
yeah
an
right, yeah.
yeah. Okay, let me go back. Let me go back to this because it's like yeah, this isn't really gonna matter too much right now. But yeah, basically when you open Premiere, you would say open production essentially, and then you can just locate to that production where I have it on my drive here and that inside that folder, and then you click on this. So the production is going to look like a folder, just like an Avid project, where you can step inside and then see all the different folders that are created in that production. But I can just select the main production folder, and then it's going to open up like this by default. So this is um, it's like this is its own panel pretty much because like Premiere kind of works with panels, and so this will show up like your project panel in Avid,
Yeah,
where
like
you
go
can-
up to the window menu, and then you can show that's it's just another panel in Premiere. You can
Oh,
see.
right, yeah. Yeah,
um,
so window, well,
Oh no, actually, what do you under
actually
view?
open up.
Wait,
I might actually have to
were we
open up.
supposed to open something? Sorry.
Well, I guess you don't have to. You can just.
You don't have to, yeah.
Follow.
If you want to just watch through, that's fine. Or if you want to follow along,
I think
Well,
it's under. I think panels are under view. I think.
you might actually have to open up a project though first to see it because I think.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I opened production, I clicked browse, and now I'm in Google Drive share, correct?
You're gonna want to copy that out of the Google Drive.
yeah,
Wait,
yeah. Make sure everyone like you copy from the G Drive to your local drive somewhere, just kind of like how you would with an Avid project.
Chase, did you not read the instructions on the minutes channel?
no, I did not.
Uh-oh.
I completely missed
Too long,
that.
didn't
You
read.
lost. Lose a cookie. You basically, just like an Avid project, you need to download it to your drive and get it set up on your local.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But now I just have a tiny little screen on my desktop and the Premiere. That's all that pops up when I have Premiere. Is this
Yes, I have
screen.
the same affliction.
What do you mean? You're not seeing the
like a
production?
square.
No,
Are we
I
opening, are we opening the project and the work? What are we clicking on to open?
All you want to do first,
That's-
like, is when you open Premiere itself and you
Yeah.
get to the open window, I'll close. Let's see if I can. Yeah.
Let's
so
just go,
close
yeah.
production. Just so when you have this open, right?
Yep.
You see that, and so you want to go to File and then Open Production.
Okay.
It's like the first step, and then you'll see the browse menu, and then you can click there. If it's not open by default, you can, that's where you can go to whatever drive you're on that you copy the project to, and you can go locate that production file, which is called the Premiere Production Test AS.
You just select that folder.
Just that folder. Okay.
Yeah.
Just that folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that on shared drives.
On Z.
ZTemp.
See, all right, so I go to Google Drive, shared drive. There's supposed to be something. All right, found it. Perfect. Thanks.
Wait, now, so I did that, Austin. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, minute channel for this, but this is what I'm seeing now. Loading this to minutes. Hold on.
Yeah, we got the
Yeah.
project panel open, but
Yeah.
nothing else.
So that's exactly what you should be seeing.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so you can obviously drag that out, but it's not like Avid where you see the entire user interface at first. So
Okay.
once you have things open, then you can start customizing the interface. But yeah, this is
Got
what you
it.
should see.
Different than Austin's. I mean, sorry, everyone who knows Premiere, but
Yeah.
No.
No. This is what you should see when you first open a
Oh, okay.
production. Yeah.
And then, okay, now
So
what?
so that's the. Just wait, Howard.
No, I want
Uh,
to be like now.
hard
Can't
maybe
wait.
yourself.
But basically it's how the project panel it looks in Avid when you open that, right? And so so the production is sort of separate from like all the like individual projects that are like inside these folders. So the production panel, like you can create new folders, right? Like this, just go untitled and call it whatever. These folders, the yellow ones here that you're seeing, work like the folders in an Avid project, where you can create them from the Finder. Technically, you can post them in the actual production here. So I just did really basic stuff. Like I just kind of did a folder that's like cuts, and then created projects in that cut folder. Because
Mine aren't yellow; they're blue.
Yeah. On the Mac, it doesn't show up as yellow.
on the back is
Yeah.
yeah. All the lucky people who are on Mac.
It's the only good thing about this Windows thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can create folders at the Finder level, and it shows up in Premiere too.
Yeah, because I deleted that folder and then it
Oh yeah,
disappeared.
yeah.
Project panel. And what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, so basically with the productions, it's like the equivalent of a bin in a Premiere Productions is a Premiere project. And so if I go to my Slacker work folder, for example, I just created this guy here, which is a project, and I titled that Slacker AS. And so when I open that up, it's going to now basically open up how you expect a Premiere project to look like. And so you see here that this panel is my Slacker AS project, like AKA bin, that you can sort of step into and do your work. But like it's like Premiere is like they're referring to projects as bins here, but it's like
the terminology is confusing because
the terminology.
Like if you right click on that Slacker AS thing in your production and go reveal, you can go well, in this case it's Windows, this is Reveal in Explorer. You'll see it reveals to a PR project, which is a Premiere project file. So functionally, projects in a quote unquote production are bins, but they refer to them as projects, which will make your head explode. But functionally, that's how it works. Yeah. So a bin is basically, it's like an AVB file in Avid, especially.
Yeah. I mean, it's also sort of like, I mean, the Premiere Productions is sort of just this whole like umbrella that's containing everyone's individual like Premiere projects that they, or any individual Premiere projects we want to create. It's going to house them and sort of like kind of interconnect them in a way, which like I can kind of explain a little bit more what that means. But because like when you're in your own project, you can hit Command B. That creates, again, it's going to default and say bin. So it's like, it's more or less a folder, And like,
you don't want to do that though in a production.
I mean, well, like,
even though you can.
I mean, you can't. Like, I would say you can because like this is kind of like the difference where in Avid project I would essentially be creating another folder here and then placing bins inside that. Whereas Premiere Productions, I can kind of eliminate one of the folders in what is in the Avid template right now, because it's like in Current Cuts, I just wanted to create a folder that says, okay, contain all the 30 cut related folders. And so then I have like my cuts folder, like my cuts project. There would be a project for Pete, and so on and so forth. But so if I open up my 30 cuts project, and I wanted to start working here, I can then like create my own separate bins in here. Let's see, it would be like Current Cuts. AS for how we do it, but Current Cuts AS, old Cuts AS, and so I have those ready to go, and then that's where I can put my sequences in. So it's like your bin project is like something that can contain other folders and other like elements that you may want to bring in to your project first, like starting your sequences, bringing in your temp graphics, music, sound effects, all of that. And then it's like you can, depending on what you might want to share it to or move it to, then you can open up other projects and either duplicate or move them how you see fit. And so I also I just created a template, like again, bin up here in the Slacker folder, where I kind of stole the template sequence that they used in ABC and Hulu. So this can kind of act as a starter project for everyone, and then you could obviously adjust how you want it. But I'm going to just duplicate this. And I mean, the main way you can duplicate is either you can hold down the command option and click and drag to the project that you want, and just release that, and then I've copied it there, and the original one's still there. I think you can also right click. You do right click and duplicate, so you can duplicate it from there too. It doesn't work like Avid where you can
drag onto you can't drag it from
or like, can you hit Command D actually? No.
Well, you should be able to actually to duplicate it. What you can't do is you can't drag that onto another project in the project production panel like you can in Avid bins. See, like if you tried to drag the sequence into PD30 cuts, it won't let you do that. You actually have to open up the project, have both windows open, and drag and drop between them. So that's one major difference between the way Avid does in Premiere.
Right. And and so, but like, you could duplicate or move it. Like it's like if I wanted to move this to Pete's cut instead, it works where it's just like you just drag, hover over the opened project, you can just drop it in there. So that's relatively smooth. And then also just, tiny detail note, but like, cause every project is going to open up like a panel here. And so if you click on the, I guess, kind of looks like the hamburger menu, but there's close panel and then close project. Closing panel is not the same thing as closing project. It's only going to like close the panel, whereas like closing project is actually going to like ask you to save it. And it's, yeah, I think every time you close a bin, it's going to ask you to save it because it is basically like a Premiere project. Because it's like if you started individual Premiere projects and closed it, it would ask you for this info or this option. So so I can hit yes, it'll save and then close.
It's actually a good point when you're working in productions because you're working in actual projects.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about saving because I think if you go to the file menu or edit, there's a shortcut for save all or something like that. Yeah, save all right there.
Save all projects.
You're gonna want to map a shortcut to that because
and you could say apply to all too here.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Because Premiere is it's crashy. Oh, there's no two ways about it. So you're gonna want to make that muscle memory for you to just save as often as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, did anyone
Where's the equivalent of the hamburger menu thing?
What's that?
I was looking for media. Where's the equivalent of the hamburger menu? Is that plus button?
Oh, I
or-
mean, well, I was talking about just this guy that's like next
Oh,
to
that one. Okay,
that
thank you.
like has some bin options. I don't know. I mean, does anyone have any general questions about like just how projects like these operate? And go ahead.
But generally, like maybe other people here have a better grasp, but like I think I would just like really like, what am I looking at on the left? What is this panel here? Like if I have never opened this project, this program before, and like obviously I know Avid, but I'm less interested in the differences between Premiere Productions and like what a Premiere project is, just because I haven't spent a lot of time in Premiere period. So just like if you could walk me through these panels. I don't, if that is a waste of time for anyone, then please holler, but like.
Yeah, well, for example, I
Well, like
opened
as
it up and
well.
my production panel wasn't open, so I had to go dig for it. So
Yeah, sometimes you'll lose it, but that's why you can go up to the view menu now. Check up to I think it's view. Oh, maybe it's a new window. Yeah, so this is how you can. If you lose your production panel, this is where you find it again, and you can just toggle it on and off, and you'll see it toggle on and off. Like, see
does it make sense to go through what the panels are or show?
Yeah.
What would be?
You don't want to go through all of them, but yeah, it's.
I can just do a quick run through. I mean, it's basically like. I think the biggest thing to understand really with Premiere Productions is like there is a difference between the production panel and like a project panel like this. Like when we're talking about the Premiere Productions panel, we're talking about this menu on the left here with all the like individual like blue folders that you have on your end, which is like that's going to be sort of what looks familiar from an Avid project. When you go to the Finder, it's like the Finder level of the project is going to mirror this right here. And like every time you step inside a folder on the Finder level, all the way, you can see that these are individual Premiere projects, but they're like basically treated like bins in this. And so it's like if you opened up a project like I have here with like my cuts bin, I can create. This is like the project sort of. God, I hate the terminology again, but it's basically the project panel that like is sort of an individual project within the production.
But effectively, from the Avid world, it just looks like a bin.
Yeah, functionally, it's a bin. It's the terminology is confused. It says project because on the disk it's a project, but functionally, wherever you see it say project, just think bin.
Yeah. But every project panel like this is going to look the same, where you have like just an empty space where you can bring in anything you want, start anything you want. It's going to have like these little buttons down here where you can say hit new bin to create a new bin, which is like a folder basically inside every Premiere project like this. And then there's this guy down here like saying new item, and you can create things like sequences and bars and tone, adjustment layers, transparent video, things that could be important for, placing in a sequence. So, and you have like the different view icons down here too, where you can, switch to icon view, and you can step in, probably see media that's like more of like the thumbnail look.
How do you step out?
There's a little
the
icon in the upper left. It's like a little arrow up.
Yeah,
above
yeah.
the
So you
magnifying
can,
glass.
yeah, hit that and go
Yeah.
up again. So because like every time like you like if you're in this type of view and you double click into it, it's going to open up a new panel that to just show you what's inside the old cuts folder, for example. And so
Nothing.
so you can and let's see. Oh, actually, and then that's where you can hit close panel because that's not an actual project. Um, so the actual project is this. Folders are within the project that you can kind of put different things in.
What if some of our media is not linking up?
Oh
It's
yeah, so
gonna-
you've been
I think
Well, yeah,
some of the
so-
sources won't link, right? But you should have couple.
yeah,
bunch of
yeah. I mean,
proxies.
yeah, if you went to that proxy folder in Frame.io and just at least just downloaded one, you can just primarily link to that one and just tell Premiere that you can say offline to all, as long as the one that you have is linking. But just to finish the overall project layout, it's like this is like I have this source monitor up, which is the equivalent of your source monitor in Avid, where you load up sources and everything. That's your program monitor, where and timeline. So all that kind of is roughly the same. And I have like my just audio level bar to the right, and then this guy here is kind of the equivalent of the Smart Tool, but you just kind of have different options that you can kind of select here. But I think it's probably preferred if you just kind of go through and map all the keyboard settings that you want to have, and that's something that's I think a bit more in depth. I even have to do that still, but the way to customize your keyboard settings, by the way, is going to be under Edit and then Keyboard Shortcuts.
Or on the Mac, it'll be under the Premiere Pro.
Mac is
the
probably-
first,
yeah,
that first menu. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's going to be what it looks like when you customize all. Yeah. Any other questions about just general Premiere project layout or productions and how it just kind of functions?
Well, I think for those of us who are more Avid centric, if you could just sort of go through the equivalent of when you used to do this, and when you do that. I mean, you've been doing some of that. So
You want to just go through the motions of just creating a sequence and
Yeah. I
Adding
mean,
things
because I
in?
think at least
yeah, like had added on a timeline, given the
Yeah.
fact you can't patch tracks. That's
well, you can patch tracks. It just doesn't auto.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
not the way
Yeah.
a different way.
Yeah, wait. Also, by the way, and Premiere works too in Avid, where you can kind of import things how you want, and also I think generally when we're working in Premiere, the only things we're really going to worry about transcoding are like actual AV sources from client, like because it's a bit more intuitive to kind of just work with all the original graphic renders that we get, for example, or just if you want to bring in sound effects or music, you don't have to worry about making sure it's in Avid Media to share. It's like I think
Well, that is the fundamental difference between Premiere and Avid is that Premiere, everything in a project is linked media, is the equivalence of linked media in Avid. You can make lower resolution proxies of media, but literally if you want to bring a graphic in, you just drag the graphic in from the Finder or whatever, and it's always a direct link to that graphic. So it's not creating any secondary media files that you have to upload to Frame or anything. It's always a direct link to media.
Yeah, and you could do that either by the Finder on the Finder level, where you have a Finder window open and drag things from Finder into your project, or there's this media browser here too, that's kind of the equivalent of the
Source browser.
Source browser. And you can kind of locate and find things that way. You're going to want to use this if I don't think you'll use it often, honestly, but this would be where you go if you wanted to step into other individual Premiere projects and then grab individual sequences. Like you could do that here. But again, that's a little complicated because when we're starting a productions, you always want to start a new bin, aka project, inside the productions. You never want to go out to Premiere and say
New project.
it's more of if I close this real quick, you never want to go file new project. You always just want to open the production first. And just open up at least one project. and then when you're in the project panel, you right click in there and say new project, and that would create a new project there, and then you could like move that around in how you see fit. It gets a bit complicated when you like bring in individual Premiere projects that were created not in production, and you were to try to bring in sequences and things like that. It kind of just makes it complicated in terms of the media that it's referencing and all that. So we want to keep everything in the production, because that's how we're all going to be able to like reference the same media and in various sequences and things like that. So, all right.
So we're using production because Premiere normally just buries everything in the same project, and we'd all be trying to dig out stuff from each other and then try to figure out how to not overwrite everybody's stuff. And
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if you're doing a remote collaborative kind of workflow. Here, I will say the reason why, one of the reasons why they created productions was the problem traditionally in Premiere is if you worked in a singular project file and you brought in a ton of media, you have a lot of sequences, a lot of cuts, the project starts slowing down. It becomes unstable and it crashes. And so this is why they came up with productions. And so the paradigm with productions is like, put your media in its own project. Don't create bins inside of like in that Slacker AS project right there, you see, you wouldn't put a folder or a bin in that project and bring media into it, because that's what causes your projects to become unstable. So basically you dump stuff in their own dedicated projects and open up the project when you need, just like a bin in Avid. So that's the general idea. It's performance. It was motivated by performance and stability. And they just happened to rip off the way Avid did it in that process. So,
well, okay, because I mean, maybe you can tell me if you would do it differently here, Mel. But I mean, just to like walk through, let's say if you wanted to like start selects, right? Like, I'm just going to my Slacker work project here, and I mean, I'll just create a folder that's just called selects. I mean, this is kind of what I would want to do, but.
I mean, I would just say for the sake of this demo, just to show how Premiere works, because basically what you just did there is how you would do it in a non-production Premiere project, which is fine. It's just once things start getting more complicated with media, you're not going to want to do it that way, even though you can.
You might want to split it up.
Well, what happens is if you have a lot of stuff in a bin in your own project, and then somebody tries to reveal a certain clip in their timeline and it's referenced from there, it takes a long time for that project to open, that bin to open. I would say you should work kind of like how you do it in Avid, where you create a bin for everything. Even though you can technically create, I will call them folders within your project.
Just because it would make more sense to like have just like a cuts project and then just have your current cuts and old cuts like in that project.
Yeah, I mean that we can get in the weeds about the philosophy of
What
that, but so you can do that. I'm just saying,
I feel like you guys are. I feel like we're digging into esoteric stuff.
Yeah, I think that's
maybe if we could start with like if you're, you grab some stuff and you want to pull selects.
Yeah. So hang on. Uno.
I'm sorry, I was trying to catch what Mel was saying not to do, but I think we're moving beyond
let's not get too in the weeds about it. Let's just create a sequence, start showing how that works.
Yeah. So like, if I wanted to just grab the template again to just start a new sequence, and let's say like, okay, this is like.
I'm sorry, how did you do that?
Where's the project template?
Where's the project template?
Oh, it's in this like Slacker folder up here at the top of the production panel.
Yeah. All right. So do we copy that or open it, or what do we do?
Yeah. Have you opened the template bin?
Yes.
Okay. So then when you see that sequence, you can just select it and then hold down the command key and then command drag it into like your own work folder essentially, or like work project. And so if everyone wants to just try that of like going into,
we need to make our own work project.
So if you want to go to the Slacker work folder and then right click and say new project, you can title your own project in there. So go ahead, everyone just go ahead and do that real quick.
So am I opening template? Or
Yeah,
am
on the
I?
template. Mhm.
All right, so I open template and then I click on project. What do I click on after that?
Yeah, so when you're inside the template, you see
Uh-huh.
the sequence that's like 1080, it starts with 1080, 2390.
Yeah.
So you hold down the command key, actually, sorry. So I'm sorry, you just have that template bin open. Now that you have that open, go to the project panel, and then right click on the Slacker work folder here. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just hit new project,
Okay.
and then just call that project Slacker dash Jace, and then open that up.
And there shouldn't be anything in there, correct?
Yeah, it's brand new project. So when you have that and template open, go back to the template project here where that this temp sequence is,
Mhm.
and then just command drag that into your Slacker Jace project.
Anyone's command not working? Mine's not working.
Maybe it's option, because command doesn't work.
Not option.
Command works.
Command option?
You
You
try-
just like move the hand literally in the box where it needs to go instead of just to the tab at the top.
Oh, got it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Because if you hold down command and you just click and drag, you should see this little, it like grabs it and adds this little plus sign here to it. So that's how you know it's going to like duplicate. And then, yeah, you have to just kind of hover over the project you want and then go down and then drag it that way.
Yeah. I was just doing it on the tab. Thanks.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so once you have that, and then you can, I mean, I'm just putting it in a selects folder right now, but you can essentially just rename that whatever you want, like selects, yes. And so I'll have this, and so the sequence opens up here. Sorry, it's a little confusing because I've been different things. So this is just, like your standard template sequence that you can kind of just start anything with. So you have that created, and then now when you can go to, was there any questions?
Yeah,
I
sorry.
double clicked my window and it blew up to full size. Now I've got a giant window and nothing else. Very confused.
tilde key.
By hitting the tilde key.
Good to know. Thank
So
you.
wherever the cursor is, if you hold the tilde key, it maximizes whatever window's underneath it.
Yeah.
It's a toggle.
Yeah.
That's a really, really cool
tilde
shortcut.
key is
Yeah.
that's a big like sort of Premiere function. It's not really an Avid, but
I'm trying to sort of follow along, but I guess what's our goal?
I can't get it. I can't get my the template to move into my work folder. I'm an idiot.
Well, did you hold and drag with the command key down, and then you can't just drag it onto the tab. You actually have to make the window come forward.
So option, grab the timeline, hover it on the project tab, wait for that.
That's one way you can do it. See
Activate.
It's gotta
that's
be command, not option.
yeah.
It's what?
Gotta be command, not option. Option won't copy it, it'll just move it.
Well, that explains everything. Thank you.
And then once you get to the tab or the project you're trying to copy it into, pull it down into the panel, because otherwise it's going to have that
Stop sign.
Yeah, stop sign.
Or that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, what'd you say? Oh, I wasn't sure.
Clicked on new sequence and it opened up a new window that says like sequence presets, settings, tracks, VR video.
Sorry, so you did the command copy into your own project, Jace?
So I'm in project Slacker Jace. I copied the 1080 23.96 3-letter show. sequence into that project.
Mhm, mhm.
And then
And then if you double click on that sequence, is it open?
it opens and there's nothing on the timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Is everyone there?
Yes.
Okay. This is just to show you like the general selects process, equivalent of that. So we have we have the separate project bin that's like master sources proxies under the sources folder in the project panel.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you downloaded at least one source, and it probably, when you open this project up, it probably asked you like, things are offline, like, you know, and then you would have to sort of direct Premiere to where where the location is where you're keeping the proxy files that we've given you to work with. So everything is going to be online for me, since I just kind of have all the sources that I was testing with. But does everyone have like their one source that's online?
Yeah.
Cool. And so yeah, because like what we've given you is basically a proxy, which is ultimately we can make it work the same way we do Avid projects, where if one of us is creating a batch of proxies on our end, we'll probably put them in a numbered folder that we've established for the project, and then just kind of like hand them off that way through Frame.io. And then everyone should be able to just link to the new proxy folder that and with the proxy clip that's going to be replaced in this bin. And so yeah, I mean, so you just it should work like normal. You double click on the source. You can also like zoom in and out sort of on this little scrubber here. Depending on where you're at in the timeline, you might have, it's like I think these are actually opposite. But like the more you zoom in and out, basically, the more you can actually see maybe like where your in and out points are. But yeah, but it'll work like Avid, where you just, you know, hit in and out, and you know, the various ways that you can bring it onto a timeline are either just, you know, clicking and dragging in the middle of the source, which will give you the video and audio, just like that. You can also grab and drag individual, like you can either grab the video individually, where if you click on the little like film strip here, where the hand's hovering, you click and drag that, it's just going to take the video if you didn't want audio. So, you know, that's something to be careful with if you know, are intending to get both video and audio on the timeline. If you just wanted audio, you can just click and drag that icon and put it there.
Is there a trick to get it to snap to the beginning or the end or something?
Well,
Yeah,
there's snap. Yeah.
There's other shortcuts and stuff for that. Just to also show the inner workings of the source monitor, it's like you can click on the audio icon here. If you click that, it'll show you all the audio tracks. And so this was a good example because this was like a whole like 24 track audio source, and it's a little weird like to get kind of used to, because I mean, number one, it just kind of names every track one. I forget like what the reason.
I think that just shows that it's a mono track. It has one.
It's just saying that it's a mono track. Yeah,
if it was stereo, it's a two. Yeah.
I'm number one.
Yeah, and so what you can kind of do if you wanted to just like play through the source and like get an idea of like where things are at, you can, as long as you've selected the source and you're in the source panel, you can drag your audio tool out, like here, where because it's like recognizing that we're looking at a 24 track source. And so if you hover over these, it'll tell you what channel it is. So it's like if you hover over the solo, it's saying channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. And so like, you know, I know that like track 7 and 8 should just be the stereo. So it's like if I didn't want to hear anything else just to play it through, I can just go to track 7, track 8, and then it should be playing just those tracks.
That was just my stomach.
Hey, didn't want to interrupt. I just want to make sure that like, were people able to attach their proxies properly? Because when I open mine, if you link the media, when the window pops up, it's not going to attach to the original media. You have to like, in Premiere, they deal with proxies weirdly. So you have to like right click on the source, go to proxy, attach proxies, then point to the proxy file, and then it starts coming up.
Well, maybe we should.
Go through. Yeah.
Well, so here's the deal. You want to talk about this, Austin? You want me to do it?
I mean, like, well, it's like because like we're ultimately what we were finding was that when we were like creating proxies, right, like normal went to like distribute all this, we create proxies from the original media. You know, we make sure they're attached and you know doing that toggle back and forth. However, when we sent out just the proxy files to like everyone, like we mirrored the process of like I sent proxy files to Mel, he opened them up, and when he got this file, it's like all these audio tracks like appeared offline, and like the only one was like this track one here.
Yeah, same.
Well, we should back up for the people who don't know how Premiere works, right? Once you right click on that clip in your proxies thing, even though it says proxies. So what Lynn is talking about is this proxy menu here. So Premiere has what they call the quote unquote proxy workflow that's built in. So the idea behind that is like you have a high-res source, but if you don't want to work with that high-res source because it's for performance or whatever, you create proxies, low-res proxies. That's like how you do it in Avid. But unlike Avid, it's theoretically creates a bidirectional link to both versions. So you can switch from the low res to the high res at any time just with the click of a button, which sounds like a cool idea. But what we found is that there are a lot of quirks when you're using this built-in proxy workflow, especially kind of in a remote workflow where you're not going to have the high-res version of the source. And what we found is if you don't have the high-res version of the source, a lot of weird things happen that you don't expect.
Where do you want them to be?
Howard, time
Hey, Howard.
to
What?
You gotta mute. You gotta mute, Howard.
I got caught. Sorry.
So what Lynn is talking about is we're not going to use this proxy menu. We're just going to give you the low resolution proxies. But we're not going to use this attach proxies, detach proxies, all this stuff. We found it's just too unpredictable. There are a lot of quirks, and we just said, fuck it, we're not going to do that because we don't want the editors to have to worry about issues like that. We've ran into a lot of weird issues, and so we're just going to do it the old school way, which is how you used to have to do it before they had this proxy system. So you just edit with the low res proxies, and you don't have to worry about anything. And then when it comes time for us to relink to the high res, it becomes Austin and Howard and me and Stephanie's problem. So
Okay.
Yeah. So.
We then walk through as if like we had just gotten an offline file, like make a file offline and then it just
Yeah,
show
that
up.
would be a good idea. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, like if we just kind of make this offline, and so when it does come up line, if you try to double click on it, it's just going to kind of come up with this menu, which is just not helpful. And so basically to make this online again,
Maybe what you should do is close that project and then reopen it, so you get that link dialog.
Oh sure, yeah.
I don't know if you need to close the whole production, but
Yeah, I'll just close.
oh, weird.
I
It
don't
didn't.
know if it's
It didn't
gonna-
prompt you.
Yeah, I think it's just.
All right. Well, you can get to it just by going link media. You'll show you the same panel.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the same menu.
Yeah, it's-
Why does it say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why does it say offline user?
Well, it's probably because the user invoked made it offline.
Oh.
But this is what you would get if you open up a project and it can't find the media.
Mm-hmm.
So
And ultimately, like we like want everyone to do locate and then kind of locate, via the proxy folder that we have. I should try this though with
I would point out the display only
exact name matches.
here down there, which makes it a little bit easier to find
Yeah.
the thing you're looking for sometimes.
Yeah.
That option at
If
the
you click
bottom.
that checkbox, can you click that? Oh,
Oh, too
no,
late.
go back to the locate. Click locate. Okay, click
So
that checkbox at the
checkbox.
bottom.
Mm.
So that will show you if it found the file, and basically if you have that checkbox checked and you don't see anything in there, that means it can't find the media in that folder. But this is how you kind of reassure yourself that it's finding the file that it wants to link to, and then you can just hit OK and it links to it.
Wait, I'm supposed to be in the proxies, master sources dash proxies project, right?
Mhm.
When I open that, my link media window looks different from y'all's. Oh, I see. Okay, it's prompting me to link to the proxy. Never mind. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I think ideally, like I'd like to see if like what happens to people if they have like multiple sources and it's linking okay because you know
Do you want me to share my screen and
um
use me as an example and walk me through it?
do you have multiple proxies downloaded that you could link to?
I only have one.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you
okay.
can link one.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's okay. I just wanted to kind of make sure that the automatic relinking works okay with kind of how we're doing it because because it's sort of like when we're transcoding, we're having to like bring in the proxy files from the Finder level again manually into like we're making the proxies in a separate project so that way nothing has to sort of get confused with the actual productions. But ultimately, we're just dragging in the low res proxy files that we make into this production bin here. And and theoretically, when you get that, I mean, the clips should be searching for and linking to the proxy files like automatically. So that's the goal at least, because again that whole like create proxy attach proxy thing when we send them out there's just all kinds of issues, so we're just kind of trying to avoid that.
So on that window with the link media window, you're saying that when that pops up, click locate and go to that proxy file and point to the proxy file, right?
Right.
So when I do that, let me just give me a second, and I offline the rest so that I can just kind of go ahead. It does not load.
Yeah, I just have a black screen. It
Yeah.
can link to it, but it's just black. There's nothing. There's no media.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, actually, mine just worked. Never mind. That's weird. It wasn't working before, but mine just worked.
I had an issue with the one that I was doing too, and I think it had something to do with the file name, and the clip name was a little different, but eventually I got it to work. So that might be the same issue other people are having.
Well, what happened to me was that because we only downloaded one of them, the window that prompted with all of the file names. Like if I did that window and I only located one of them, when I went back, it wasn't online, but then I just right clicked that source and linked to it manually. But I don't know if that will be convenient, like if that's what we're going to want to be doing when we have a ton of sources coming in.
Oh, to Deb's point, the media has an underscore proxy at the end of it, and the media in the project doesn't have that. So I don't know if that matters. They have different names.
Or like I wonder if like because the file names are different, does it automatically relink to all of the sources? Or do we have to manually point to like the proxy files for each clip because it's the high?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm wondering is like, because that's what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, I'm downloading a source right now, like another one, so maybe we can test that out a little later. But
yeah. Okay.
So this is what. Okay, if you look at the link media, can you go back to that?
Okay, I have a question. So like when we start a project, presumably for like how we'd be doing a workflow, would everything be offline like we're doing right now and we'd have to online it? Like
link it, right?
Is this stage like?
Well, expect that to happen initially, but we did experience when we were doing some tests that as long as the location of the files it wants to link to is located in the exact relative, like if it was in the same subfolder as where the project is, it finds it. But that's an in the weeds kind of thing. But you just expect, at least initially, to have to relink stuff. But we will finesse that part of it. But Austin, could you take one of those offline again? and then just try to relink again. Go link. Yeah. So what's happening here is you see it says clip name, right? And then there's also file name. So the thing about Premiere is that you could like if you hit cancel, and just rename that. Just give it any old name, whatever. Yeah, and then relink again. Okay, you see that the clip name is blah, but it still thinks it wants to connect to a file called whatever underscore proxy. So the clip name has nothing to do with the file name. It's just because it just defaults to giving your clip name the name of the file that it originally came in as. Although I guess, did you not drag the proxies in, Austin, when you did that?
I mean, I should have. So that's why it's like, yeah.
Well, what you saw on the bin, what you see in the bin is typically what happens when you do the built-in proxy workflow, where you see the name of the original high-res clip, but then it's actually linking to the proxy. But the problem that maybe Lynn might be having is you think that you might want to link to the clip name that doesn't have the underscore proxy, but it's not. It wants to link to this underscore proxy. So if you point it to whatever it wants you to link in that file name column in the link media window underneath it, that's what you're going to link to. And if everything else lives in that same folder and there's other things that are offline, it will automatically find them as long as they're within that same folder. So if you hit, if you go OK now, right, click OK, then it relinks. So even though that the clip name is, like again, the clip name has nothing to do with the actual file name it relinks to. So you can see there's a little watermark there in the, it says proxy. So if you wanted to link back to the high res, can you try to do that maybe? Go offline?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of more to do with us because it's like,
Okay, well, the principle is, it's the clip name is not necessarily the file name it wants you to link to.
But yeah. I mean, if I wanted to go find, it's like,
So it's actually linking to the correct file because it looks for the file name. Okay.
Yeah, just look at what in the file name column is what you want to really look at.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to ask for something that's going to be in that folder that has the same name as opposed to something you're not going to find.
Well, the interesting thing about Premiere is that you can force it to link to another file, a totally different file. So if you want to manually relink that, I think Austin will just do it right now.
Well, something like this, but it's like, because it's like, it was initially referencing the proxy. It's like, this is where I would have to kind of go manually if I really wanted to like force a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just tested, like I downloaded another proxy source just to test if it would link multiple files just by clicking on one and linking one. And it did. It worked.
Yeah.
So I think
as long as everything's in the same relative location as where it originally expected it to be, it does auto find everything else. Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, as long as like it's like it was a file that kind of came from these proxy files that we've like manually dragged into, the master source has been here, and because it's like established that link between the proxy file initially, it should be automatically relinking. And I think generally it's like, as long as everyone has like a proxies folder with like the number series that happens, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, as long as you place folders like that in there, it should work. But then it's kind of a different conversation though when we're talking about graphics and music and sound effects and things like that, where it's like people might just have to like, if people create something like that in a project, they're just going to have to like keep track of that on their system and then send those files out to people and kind of like, name them how they see fit. So, everything won't necessarily be in a number folder, I think is what I'm saying. But,
So when we get to that stage, you'll give us some guidance as to how to share stuff and move things between projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mel and I can talk more about that, but yeah. So is there anything else I'm not thinking of related to relinking, Mel? Or
Well, there probably are, but it may be worth just to kind of move on to.
No, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a general rundown. Um,
So if I wanted to make some selects, and I've got 24 tracks of sources, how do I pick the 2 tracks that have the mix on them, for example?
yeah.
Well, why don't we just go to the basic? Yeah, I think you started that doing the
Yeah,
editing to the
yeah.
timeline. I don't know if you're going to show the overlay edit technique. We drag it into the program monitor.
Yeah, I guess, well, yeah, there's, I guess, a few ways that you could do it. But like if you're just working in the source monitor, and you've just loaded up one source to look at, and then you have your selects timeline here at the bottom. And it's like if you want to just play it with just certain tracks selected, you can hit the solos here and just kind of play it. And so that way the audio will just play from 7 and 8. I believe you can also, there's another panel called the clip mixer, which you can open that up to. And I think as long as, yeah, like you've stepped into the source, and then you can do the same thing where you go to tracks, you know, you kind of have to open it up a bit more, but wait, yeah. But like for 7 and 8, you can do the same thing where you're soloing those.
This is just like the one in my apartment.
And you can have that
Tracks
panel
on
open up in another window, so you can see both
Yeah.
waveforms at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
How did you get the audio tracks on the right side of your timeline?
It's audio meters in the, if you go to the window or view, one of those things.
Yeah, yeah, this whole panel, yeah, that should be
Audio meters.
audio meters, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you just stretch that audio box niche to the
Oh.
left and it opens up bigger.
Yeah.
If you have it open.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because then when you see that, you can hover over the little, like, because the S is at the bottom for solo, you can hover over those and see which channel it is. So like clip 1, channel 1, channel 2, you know, channel 3.
But other than soloing them, if you want to pull just those tracks into your timeline, is that
Yeah. So if you're ready to pull them in, because so when I've loaded in the source, see how in the timeline here, let me try to spell this. I can make this bigger temporarily, but so for the audio track, see how like it's loaded every single on the left side here. There's all the source tracks there that are patching into the timeline, and because there's 24, and I only have like 18 tracks on the timeline. There's this little plus menu here, so you can hit that, and then it'll show you the additional source tracks that it'll then just kind of automatically start patching into additional tracks on the timeline. So the way to select too is like, if I wanted to set the source audio channel patches, I'm just going to hit shift and then click, which is going to just deselect everything. And then because I know that 7 and 8 are what I want, since that's the stereo mix, I'll minimize that. So it's only 7 and 8 is only selected. So now I can click and drag, and now it's only going to take 7 and 8 from that.
So the short answer is it's like Avid.
It's basically like Avid, yes. And when you drag it in, you can see it'll identify which channels that you've dragged into here on the bottom left, where it's saying channel 7, channel 8. So,
but you've got
source monitor, like, so there's no like timeline view for the source. The source is just like in that window, right? Now you toggle between source and record, and you see a timeline for each.
Right. It's sort of like there's a couple of techniques that you can do, but like you need a new sequence to kind of view it. So if
the short answer is you can with an asterisk. You can't just do it as a clip loaded into source viewer like you can in Avid.
Yeah.
You can get the source record toggle thing with sequences in Premiere. So we can show you how to do that, but that's, it's.
But I guess more like presuming you're supposed to have everything in one place, and if you needed to look at the audio, you'd click that audio button.
Yeah, you click on the audio button, you see that.
Click on the audio button,
Yeah.
but like if you wanted a more like detailed view, I mean, because I guess yeah, you mean you could still zoom into like everything, but if you wanted a closer view, yeah, because
Basically, you would. So here's another. Okay, maybe we can show this. This is another. If you right click on the clip in the bin, okay, and go new sequence from clip.
oh yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
So what that happened is it just dropped that selected sequence clip into its own sequence and matched the exact audio and video configuration of that clip, and so basically you can act upon it like. So you can load that sequence into the. Can you drag that into the source monitor?
Yeah, or
You can load it in. Yeah, load it.
You can open in timeline. Is that what you're saying?
Open in source monitor.
Open
Right
in-
above it. Okay. So now if you click that wrench icon and go open sequence
Oh, yeah,
in
open
timeline.
sequence. Yeah.
Wait, what happened? Oh, did you load the sequence in?
By the way, I made a cheat sheet for how to do this.
Yeah.
It's in summer school yesterday.
Basically,
some other-
basically that's how you would do it. It's you get the same results, but you have to kind of go through an extra step. You can map a keyboard shortcut to do it. So, the short answer is yeah, you can do it, but just it's not in the way that you would do it in Avid.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, this is hang on.
And it also looks like you need to clear your in and out points, or else the sequence will be made using your in and out points.
Maybe if you were to like right click and say
Yeah, I think I just tried to follow those directions, and then the sequence only filled where I had my in and out marked.
Wait, so go back and load that sequence into the timeline or into the source monitor. Yeah, that one. Open source monitor. Okay. Open sequence and timeline.
okay, yeah, I don't know why
Well,
it's
that's
not
weird. I don't know why that's not working. Well, that's
Yeah.
how you would get it to work. I don't know why it's not working in this case, but yeah.
I mean, that's more or less like it's more or less like dragging a sequence into the source monitor, so you can see
Yeah.
a sequence in the source monitor and like zoom in and all that. But
Yeah.
I mean, another way you can do it is like if you have your select sequence up, and if you have a source in another sequence, I mean, you could open that one up too.
You have two sequences
And do
open
what's
at
called
the same time.
pancaking,
Yeah.
where you stack them up.
So that's actually what you would do if you're going to use that open source in timeline or open, whatever, open sequence in timeline. So you can pick clips from one sequence and drop it into another,
Right. Because you can set in. I mean, could you set in and out points on like that open and source monitor timeline, and then just hit in and out points, and then just
Yeah,
drag?
I mean, it acts as if it's a regular clip. That's the whole beauty of that pancake thing,
Yeah.
You just have to make sure your sequence has been loaded into the source monitor.
Right. You
and
can,
set
yeah.
that,
And
then
you'll be able to
set it.
see it by the name on the tab of the sequence. Right now, it's not. So if you drag that playhead around, it's not going to mirror what's in the source monitor. That's why you have to load the sequence. You have to load whatever's in the source monitor into a timeline. You get that from the wrench menu in the source monitor. So so that thing right there. It's grayed out now because you have a clip in the source monitor and not a sequence.
Right.
So this only works with sequences in Premiere.
Oh yeah. So whoops. Yeah.
So you go there and you can see it says parentheses source monitor.
There we go. Yeah. Now it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, and see, because the playhead's going to turn red.
Yeah.
And I mean, but like it's like you still got to be careful because you can still move clips in timelines when they open up. That is one way to do it.
I think, one thing you might want to do, Austin, is in your program monitor in the wrench menu, enable timecode overlays at the bottom. Just the one above it. Just use the default for now. Yeah. So this will show you, this is where you see where the time code of the source is. So you can see that the sequence time code in the upper left of the timeline is 1 hour at 13:22. They go to the head of this sequence. Okay, so here this is where it diverges from Avid, right? Although I think there might be a setting for it. You can see that the time code is 5955. That's not the source. They do a match frame right there. Oh no,
No,
it's not. It's not matching, right? The first frame time code is not matching the source of this, right? Yeah. See.
Oh, because the start time of the sequence.
Yeah, so you got to be careful with that. There is a setting though that's supposed to it inherits the time code of the source, but in this case it may not be on. So you need to make sure that you set the first frame time code of this sequence to match the source. But that yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You can do that after the fact, but so yeah, it's functionally it's similar to Avid, but yeah, there are a couple of caveats when you do that you have to be aware of. So
yeah, because it's like I think the biggest quirk is like you're not able to really see the waveforms and the picture at the same time.
Right, in the same the closest you can get is that
I mean, the closest you can get is loading it
like
into
that, putting in a sequence. Yeah. So. All right. So maybe just.
You got all that, Jace? Jason, you got all that? Is he there? You got it.
No, I'm.
There'll be a quiz.
So Austin,
You're there in body, but not in spirit or mind.
No, I mean, some of this stuff, it's like I think at some point it'll just be, it's like Mel, you called it at the beginning. It's like when we get a project, it's like, all right, I need to make selects.
Yeah. You're gonna have to learn whenever you need to do it. You figure out how to do it. Yeah.
And that's sort of where I'm starting to like, cause some of the stuff is like, I just got to figure out how to like insert.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to like, it's like.
Well,
I'm conditioned on Avid now to just hit like use V or B to.
Well, isn't it? I think maybe you want to take the edit process kind of to the end there, Austin. Like just show the other way you can drop an edit into the timeline is you drag from the source into the program monitor, and that gives you it's an interesting option. Can you do that? Try that.
Oh, you can. You
drag it to and it gives you this overlay. So it gives you these options of how you want it, and you can either do an insert. Overwrite, and there's overlay, which is what I like. Should I do an overlay? So if you let go of that, I don't know why it didn't do that. What it's supposed to do is to, maybe put the playhead in the timeline over the clip in V1. Yeah. See if there's nothing on V1.
Like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Do you have an in and out selected right now, or are you just?
See, you see what happened there? It edited it, even though V1 is targeted. Overlay will edit.
Real quick, I have set an in and out point on the source here.
Oh yeah.
So once I do that, I can drag and say overlay, and then
it edited it over the whatever is currently targeted V1. So that's really cool when you're like dragging in like lower thirds or graphics or anything that overlays.
Well,
so
if
you don't have
just
to
editing. How do you select? Let's say you want to put something on V2.
Yeah.
Without doing an overlay. I mean, how do you?
No, you just target V2. You just click.
But you've got. Unless I'm looking at it from the Avid perspective, all of the tracks seem to be enabled on the.
Well, you just have to. You have to disable them. There's no auto patch in Premiere. That is the one thing. If you're used to that in Avid, it does not auto patch. So if you want,
but if you have everything selected, what is it? Does it take the lowest one? Does it?
Yeah, it's similar thing. It's like right now V1, A7, and A8 are targeted for editing. So if you click on I wish I could circle things, but
now if I want to if I want to take A7 and A8 and put them on 1 and 2.
Yeah, all you'd have to do is change the patch in the timeline next to A1 and 2 and change the patch to 7 and 8.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I said, not knowing.
You can drag them up.
Yeah, there are shortcuts for these things as well. I think you can even right click as well. You can actually tell it what. Yeah, see that?
That's easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
and you can tell it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, if you just click A7 and then you want it to go to like A1. Or wait. Oh no, sorry, that's it's a little tricky. Okay.
I'm so confused.
But again, yeah, you can map cheat shortcuts to all these things. So if you just want to target A1 to A1, I believe you can do that. But that thing of dragging the clip into the program monitor and having that overlay of various edit options is, that's a really good, if if you're kind of lost and thinking like, I know I want to do this, but how do I do it? You just drag it into that program monitor and it gives you those options. You can also click on those little buttons in the toolbar in the source monitor underneath. Yeah, insert, overwrite.
Yeah, these are the equivalent of like the V and B keys.
Yeah, yeah.
Insert, the overwrite.
And there's a lot of other cool things by clicking that plus button too. You can also add other shortcuts to like extract.
You just have to make sure. Yeah, again, it's just like you just have to make sure everything's patched on the way that you want it.
Yeah.
And then you can insert and overwrite however you want. So like, and again, these keys can definitely be mapped, to mirror Avid. So.
I think they may even have an Avid preset in the keyboard shortcuts. So.
Yeah. I think I heard that too.
Can you show us some of those? Maybe I'm jumping ahead. Some of those little tools, like how to edit the cut, the razor blade, the hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's over on the right.
Yeah, and I was trying to think if there was something else with.
I noticed that the preset for the for Avid says Avid Media Composer 5. That's a classic. Oh, the Avid keyboard hasn't changed since, I don't know, the 80s. So.
Well, yeah, and I guess and with dragging again, I mean, it's like you can definitely drag things to like the tracks that you want, and like sometimes I find that easier, but yeah, I mean, if you were to like try to drag down like the audio to, I think this is how Avid works too, where it's like if you drag it to the audio 3 and 4, like the video is going to proportionally move up different tracks too. So, but yeah, okay. So talking about some of the tools, I don't think this is part of the menu, but if you hit I think by default S is like the snap option. So if you didn't want to snap, you would just untoggle that by hitting the S key, and you can just drag and without having to worry about that. And then snap is enabled again with, I think, S or I think actually you can also, I think it might default actually to like Shift. I think you have to hold down Shift, and then it's like you can snap. But I think that can also be mapped by just hitting.
Yeah, you can have it as a toggle. Yeah.
Yeah.
One trick is you just search if you open up the keyboard setting, or you can actually click Help, the Help menu, and just type Snap. It'll show up in the menus. I don't know how it is on Windows, but at least on the Mac. Yeah. Or you look at the keyboard shortcut panel, and you just type whatever command you think you want, and it'll probably show it.
Yeah.
And there's a little magnet there for snap too, right? Up there.
Yeah, actually the magnet is
is that that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and if it's lit up blue, it's enabled.
It's enabled.
If it's not, it ain't.
Yeah.
You'll find that a lot of the keyboard shortcuts sort of go with similar to the command, like A is for arrow. Shocker. I think B is for blade.
Well, yeah, so because like some of these tools, I mean, yeah, this is like I think your standard selection tool, and like you don't have to worry about filler for Avid too, by the way. So, as long as that's enabled, you can select and move clips however you want.
Would that be the equivalent of the red arrow in Avid? The selection.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the equivalent of red arrow.
Yeah.
Find the equivalent person at Adobe. If you hover over those icons on the right side of the panel there, a little thing will pop up and tell you what the equivalent letter is.
Yeah. And if you hold that down, actually hold the click and hold, there are multiple tools mapped to that same button. So If you, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, the remix tool is fun.
Yeah,
We'll talk
yeah.
about that some other time.
Right. Yeah, but I know the rate stretch tool is like a common one too, where
Yeah.
you can like drag audio out or shorter and it'll like compress, like, speed up or slow down the sound. Pen tool. Yeah,
Pan tool just
hand
pans.
tool is
Yeah.
there. Text tool for other
And you'll
stuff.
love the
I
type
think, I
tool.
think text tool, rectangle, and pen are more for when you're,
You
doing
can draw
like
masks directly on the
draw
clip.
masks and stuff and edit that and like the effect controls panel there.
And the other thing
Also,
is
if
the one
there-
right above the pen. That's an important one. That's slip and slide.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So this, I think this tool, the razor tool, and the slip tool are pretty common. And then like,
If you see the little triangle underneath in the lower right-hand corner of the icon, that means there's other options.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you don't, there aren't.
So yeah, and yeah. So and like hitting the A key, like this is I think that's a pretty common function too, where you can select everything to the right, and then you can just drag everything. And then the opposite is Shift A, so you can select everything to the left and move things like that. But yeah, and then let's see. Yeah, and again, like you might have to like kind of experiment on your own with like, I mean, so the slip tool though, that's like oops. I think there's that Avid equivalent of slip tool and slide tool. Oops. Yeah, actually, hey Mel, the equivalent of like is it like the slip option where you can like or slide option where you can like slide the clip in either direction, like within the clip, you know what I mean? Like if you drag it to the left, it's gonna like shift it a few frames. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, sorry. Are you asking about the slip slide tool?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I had to step off for a second. So yeah, if I have mine's mapped to shortcuts, so it's a. Well, what do you need to know? Like how to
just like trying to like figure out how to like, let's say like slip this clip like 8 frames, so that way it's like I'm sliding it, so that way this is coming in like 8 frames earlier.
Yeah. So if you click on the well, I guess is there tails on that clip in timeline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the source.
So select, you got it. What is it? Slide. You got slide enabled.
Yeah.
That's a ripple edit. What happened?
Yeah,
Oh, this
ripple
changed over here. No, click on the one underneath the razor blade. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one of these, right?
Yeah. So there, you can do it that way.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah.
And you could also obviously map that to keyboard shortcut for 1 frame or 10 frame increments or whatever.
Yeah. So there are those options to do this like by frame kind of thing. But yeah. And yeah, the razor tool is the cut tool, so you can always map that. So that's going to cut up your clips like that.
Another handy function is if you select the cut point. Can you do that? Or yeah, you have to be and then move the playhead somewhere else, like right behind it or something, like in the middle of the clip. If you select you have to select the cut point as if you're like. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you hit the E key, I think the E key is the default. Is that working? No, I guess not. Maybe I haven't mapped it. But basically, there's an extend tool. I'm not sure if it's
right.
Yeah. So if you ever need to do that, you can do that.
Yeah.
It'll extend
Like I
the
guess I'm
playhead
just
is.
kind of and I'm kind of used to the keyboard shortcuts at this point, but like basically
Okay.
but like yeah, I mean it's gonna default to red. And then if you hold down Command and it'll switch to yellow. So that's kind of the equivalent of like
roll.
Yeah. It's gonna like slide everything down depending on if you expand or contract the clip. So if it's like if I wanted more of this clip and I drag it to the left, it's gonna push everything down. Whereas if I don't hold anything and I just have it as red, you can drag it and it's like the equivalent of like overwriting it, and so it's going to leave black in that space. And then if I'm holding down the command button again, it'll switch to that, like, this is basically like the trim tool in Avid, where you can go either direction. Like it'll, bring this clip over and overwrite the clip on the left. If I drag this over, it'll expand this clip and get rid of,
without changing the duration of the timeline.
yeah, without, yeah, right. Um, yeah, so yeah, I would say like the command button is definitely one of the biggest buttons you'll probably use. I mean, if you're working with like some of the default keyboard functions.
And then one thing
Is
you
there
gotta
a function to show the timeline in Toto?
Yeah, the backslash key.
Okay.
Again, like zooming in and out is automatically mapped to the plus and negative sign, so I can, my cursor zoom in. But then if I wanted to show the timeline in its entirety again, I just do backslash, and then it shows me everything.
Okay.
Did you talk about removing clips or removing sections?
Yeah.
And
like just deleting. Oh, and what was the other one?
extracting versus deleting.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because you can select clips and just easily just hit the delete key, and it'll like basically delete it and leave the empty space behind, so like nothing would change in the timeline in terms of like TRT or anything like that. And then extracting. What do you usually do for that, Mel?
I have mine's, I believe it's shift delete, but it may be different on your keyboard.
Yeah.
Or command delete.
Seems different. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably different for me, so I still have to kind of look at my keyboard settings. I mean,
yeah, it's really just a mapping. It's there. You just have
to... I mean, yeah. Do you have it mapped in any specific way, Deb? Or
yeah, mine is not going to help you though. Mine's like colon and apostrophe or something.
Well,
like
if you go up to the menu, I think if you go up to the edit menu,
what's the difference?
Oh, well, it's like a lift and extract in Avid, right?
Oh, see, I don't know why that isn't working. So yeah, it should be ripple delete.
Ripple delete, yeah.
Why? Yeah, it's like just not working for me. But yeah, I think that's the equivalent of ripple delete. So ripple delete is kind of the extract function, and then right? Or do I have that backwards?
Ripple delete.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it moves it back to fill the gap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing might be helpful is click the plus sign in the program monitor at the lower right of the program monitor. See that? Click that little plus button. So this is the button editor. So it has these things in there. So if you want to insert one of these is delete. Yeah, right there. These ones right here. Sorry. Go to the one right next to that rectangle. Yeah.
Oh,
so extract. So you can drag that to the toolbar down there.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's another way you can have access to that button. So there's a lot of other options there, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to know. And then
I think you might have already lift or
because you can enable safe margins here too. I know that sometimes can be important, or like you have to drag it down.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can just select that and have your safe margins and stuff for graphics.
I have a quick question. When this program crashes, do you know?
Oh, you don't know.
Well, nothing. I can toggle things around, but I can't play anything, and I can't scrub any through media or anything.
Oh, it's not scrubbing.
Oh, it's just not scrubbing.
Yeah. When shit like that happens, you quit and restart.
Do you have Avid open?
No, I don't, but
No.
I can open.
Okay, because that happened to me the other day. I had both programs open and Premiere wouldn't play.
Yeah, I had my Premiere open for a little while yesterday, and it just stopped working. So maybe I don't know which thing it is. If it's my upgrade Monterey or if my new Premiere or what I need to do. But let's see.
Are you playing out on an external monitor?
Yeah.
One thing you might want to try is click on the wrench menu. That's one thing you may need to have to upgrade is your Blackmagic I assume you're using Blackmagic Box.
No,
Oh
I
no.
don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll touch base with you later. Figure that out.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and markers, you can always add those. There's, I think, I mean, they'll be kind of placed differently too, depending on what you're doing it. Again, yeah, probably don't have a keyboard shortcut, damn it. Oh no, I do. Okay. I think, and you could like change I know you can change the color on markers. I don't know if you can you map like different colored markers to different keys, Mel?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
map-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But generally, I mean, I have like just the default marker. It should be mapped to M for everyone, but you can, if you in your selects timeline, for example, like you can hit a marker so that way it goes to the cut point or like wherever, like on the timeline.
Yeah.
Only thing is, I think it might be good to note, like if I do.
Yeah, there's source markers and timeline markers, right?
Right. Yeah. If I say, wait. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that like if you're inserting a clip, it's gonna also move the markers down. But I'm trying to think. But if you move clips, yeah. So you just kind of have to be careful with that because depending on how you are moving things in the timeline, like if you, like select different clips and move them and change them, the markers are going to stay put on the timeline there. So I think
there's an option for that too, but yeah, you have to be aware.
Oh, there
of
is
that.
an option. Okay.
Yeah.
You can also put markers directly onto the clips.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you can select the clip and then hit M, and then it adds a marker there.
And if you type M twice, you'll
right.
give
Yeah,
you the
so if
option
I
to change the
go-
color and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I can like name it, put comments on it, hit OK.
I thought it get your mouse ears or something.
You can make it a range marker too. So that marker panel holds all the power to that.
Yeah, and you can like select a clip. And you can snap to the markers to like try to edit them. I don't know if there's like a or is there a go to marker function?
I think there is, yeah.
I've just held down shift to snap, and then it should snap to the marker, and then you can hit M again, add comments and everything that you need to.
So like if you type in that duration field, like just type in like 10 seconds or something.
Oh yeah. It'll like cut it.
So you can actually make a marker and have a label in it. You can see it on the clip. So if you had a comment or something for that section, you can like if you typed in the comment field there, it'll show up in the timeline.
Yeah. Something good about to know for when pulling selects.
And then if you want to see a list of the markers, there's a markers panel.
Right.
It's buried somewhere.
Yeah. It's probably it's open here. Yeah. So like all your markers will be listed here.
By the way, just a little tip for this, the way that the panels are. So if you click on the hamburger menu there.
Here.
See in the panel group settings, right there. You can tell it if you go stacked panel group, it'll show all those things like that. So if you click on media browser, it'll show it all in that little column there. So all the tabs won't get lost in the horizontal interface. So that's an option for those panels. Yeah. So you can go back to that.
And then you can just do the same thing.
Just on disable stack panel group. There. Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Any other questions? I don't know how detailed we want to get.
I mean, we could literally be going for a week. So.
Yeah, we could. But I mean, those are just the general buttons. I think people will either have to talk to Mel to talk about keyboard shortcuts and how to kind of customize that. But I mean, I even have to kind of do that myself. So
One thing, did you can you open up your library panel? Oh, I guess you didn't get
Come on,
the
this one.
Slate the
Oh,
Slate project I sent. I gave you sent you an invitation to that.
oh, right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I still need to setting that up.
Right.
That might.
All right. Well, I wanted to show the Slate creation process, which is very easy in Premiere, but we can do that later, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the effects panel too here that will kind of have all your video transitions or like any audio like dissolves and stuff like yeah, but you have like kind of the different crossfade options here. Audio effects.
Yeah, actually, this would be a good. Maybe you just start dropping video effects on just to show how it does differ from Avid in the way it effects are applied and referenced.
Yeah,
Like just
if you
add
want
like yeah, I guess well
process
you
all,
can do
like,
that. That's a transition, right? But yeah.
and yeah, and so you can edit that. I mean, you can also set the default of like when you apply a transition like this by default, you can set how many frames you want it to like default to every time you add like a new audio transition or video transition. It might have changed actually in this version of Premiere, but I know you can do that. I forget.
I think it's timeline at the bottom.
Things.
Yeah, up there.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, audio transition default duration. Yeah, you can, and you could switch this to frames or.
And by the way, this option, this set of options have a lot of things to disable really annoying things in Premiere. Like there's some really annoying defaults like this at playback end, return to the beginning. I don't know anybody who likes that, but if stuff annoys you, look into this preference panel.
Yeah.
Play
and
after
also,
rendering previews is kind of annoying.
Yeah,
too.
and this is why, like, and also like because even when I had Snap enabled, like it wouldn't snap it on the timeline. So it's like there's literally a setting for that. So it's like you have to check that, and then now it's like now that I have Snap enabled up here, now when I drag, it'll actually like snap to every sort of like cut point. Whereas if I had it disabled, now it's so. Yeah.
Does snap to anything when you have it not set in that preset? Or is that
Oh, like in that menu?
yeah. I mean, if you have snap turned on now without that thing selected, does it snap on the source or something, or what's it do?
It's not like so if I have this unchecked, snap playhead and timeline when snap is enabled, so that means if it's unchecked, it's not going to snap.
So and then will the snap button still?
Basically, that's the default behavior of the player.
If you want,
you can map a shortcut to toggle it. Yeah.
And if you want, I mean, because if you wanted to snap it with and that wasn't checked, that's why I'm holding down Shift. And that's the only way to actually snap it without that.
Okay.
But there's just little things like things like that you have to.
You would think that they would disable the snap button from lighting up if you disabled it over there. I'm just.
I don't know. It's never bothered me. It's just you either hold Shift or like I have my N key toggles it from old Final Cut 7 days. But
so I have maybe a skip forward question. But if we're copying, let's say we finish our selects and we want to put them in the master selects bin, do we have to? And when we drag it into the other bin, it still stays in our original bin, right?
You can, yeah.
So, but if you don't do anything, it'll stay there. And so if you don't just drag it out and move it, you got to basically copy it and then go back to where it came from and delete it if you don't want it to.
No, you just move it. If you want to move it to another bin, just move it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Thank you.
You want to like drop? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was asking about kind of best practices. Like, if Austin made selects and I want to use them, do I copy that into my project? Or do I just use it straight out of his project?
I would probably duplicate it from my project into yours.
Okay.
How do you normally do it in Avid? Do you do it directly or do you make copies?
I make copies.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the most part, you should be able to do what you're doing in Avid. I say that with some trepidation, but yeah, I think the general concept, you should be able to carry it over to Avid.
Yeah, because I think best practices are like always like duplicate someone else's
Yeah.
work to like work with it in your own project. Yeah.
Yeah, the rule is do it the way you used to do it, and when it doesn't work, call Miller Austin.
Well, yeah, honestly, we will find out because there's all these little nuances, and you'll realize like, oh, it doesn't work that way in Premiere, and we'll just have to find that stuff out, you know. But the concept of not overwriting people's work is the same in both apps. So, well, I want to show the effects though. Can you like drop a bunch of effects onto a clip? So this is the thing that I struggled with when I moved from Premiere to Avid because Avid's way of doing things didn't really make sense to me because I was so used to After Effects and Premiere. So yeah, just drag whatever. It doesn't matter what. Well, those are transitions. I want you to actually drag an effect.
It does matter.
Yeah.
Actual
video effect. So yeah, and it's a blur or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Pretend you were doing a reality show.
Yeah, let's put a Gaussian blurred and drop color correction over it, whatever. Lumetri. By the way, if you're going to do color correction in Premiere, Lumetri color is the one you want.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So now you're going to open up the effects settings panel, which is effect controls. I'm sorry, effect control. I think that's what it's called in Avid, right? So here's one of the big differences in Premiere versus Avid. You know how in Avid, if you want to reposition a clip, you have to put the 3D warp thing on there or something? In Premiere, things like transforms, scaling, position, rotation, those are intrinsic to the clip. They're called intrinsic effects. So you can see up in the motion tab there, so that's where you do your scaling. You always have access to that. Any effects and opacity is another intrinsic effect. So if you want to scale it, you can just drag the 100% there, whatever. The effects, any other effects you add on to a clip gets kind of stacked on to each other. I believe it's top down in Premiere, right? Yeah, you added the Lumetri after Gaussian, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's the order of operations is motion, opacity, and then the effects get applied to that in kind of a top down order of operations. So there's no concept of like nested effects or anything like that. It all shows up in this effect controls panel when you have the clip selected. So if you click on another clip, all these effects are gonna go away from the view. See that?
Yeah. Will they always go in the order that
you apply them?
Premiere wants them in, or the order that you apply them?
Well, the order you apply them, but I believe you can reorder them in the panel.
you can definitely just drag them around.
Yeah. And you can selectively turn them on and off by clicking that little effects badge to the next name of it, like that.
Okay.
And yeah, so you do all your things here. And every effect, at least most of them you can see a little pen, rectangle. So you can actually mask off, limit where the effect gets applied by clicking on those little mask tools. And you just draw a little picture right and drag a mask right into the program editor.
Yeah, like if you wanted Gaussian blur, but yeah, just mask out anyone's face, like you would, click the circle.
You can drag the feather out in the little.
I think this is where it kicks Avid's ass.
It does.
Because when I came from Final Cut and I had to learn it in Avid, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
And there's actually I'm sorry.
Where's the tracker?
There is a tracker. If you click the little button here in the mask path, hit the play. If you hit the play button.
Yeah, like I think you have to.
Yeah, like set the keyframe first.
But then and then if you wanted to like track it,
it's probably gonna take forever because it's
but
how do you designate what you're tracking?
It's based on whatever the mask is.
Yeah,
it's a poor man's Mocha. It's not quite as good, but so don't expect it to be amazing. But if you're just doing basic tracking of stuff, it works fine.
Yeah, and like you could be very surgical about it because you can
Yeah.
either track it from one frame, you know, over you can play it and see how well it does automatically tracking everything.
You
If
can
you
see the
don't,
keyframes that's laying
you
down
can
there.
zoom in all the way on the effect timeline here, and then just like change keyframes, delete keyframes, you know,
Yeah.
however you want. But yeah, and like you can always just adjust all these settings like feather um and all that kind of other stuff. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to select all the keyframes to, or does it do it
Well, here's the
automatically?
thing. At least right now, it's not. Don't expect keyframing to be like After Effects. It's you can't. As far as I can, maybe they changed it, but last time I tried it, you can't like select all the keyframes and then kind of globally adjust them all. Yeah, it's not quite as awesome as After Effects. So if you need to kind of do a global offset of everything you did, you can't really do that.
Well, if you wanted to change the feathering on all
Oh
the
yeah, you
things,
can. In fact, you can
select
just
them
do.
all. You have to select them all, or do you just
Well, in this
change the
case,
feathering?
currently in this case, no, because there's no keyframe set on the mask feather attribute.
I see. Okay.
So if you select, actually, once you select the mask, see, it has a parentheses. Oh, yeah. So if you just drag the little widget in the program monitor, see the little thing, the little handle. No, no, in the program monitor. Drag the little line at about 2 o'clock.
Like just
Drag
this
drag
guy.
that line out.
Yeah.
You can do a global feather there, or you can do per. I think you can also do per vertex feathering too. So it's not just a global feathering. Yeah, this feathering option gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, and this is like either it's like expanding the mask and
Yeah,
but then also
the
expanding the
feather.
feather.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So stuff like that. What did you want to ask, Jason?
I got a force quit application. Your system has run out of application memory.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You are running the latest version of Premiere 2022.5.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. There are many reasons. Like I said, Premiere's crashy.
Okay.
So expect weird shit like that to happen.
And
Unfortunately.
then, I mean, I can't even like force quit. So do I just have to do like a hard quit or something like that?
Oh, when your command option escape doesn't let you force quit it.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. That's what I should do.
Yeah, Jace, that happened with my Premiere yesterday, and it wouldn't let me do anything, and I had to just hard shut down the whole machine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
One other thing is maybe like drag that clip over on V2 above that. I want to, yeah. Actually, no, drag it above the whatever the next clip is in the timeline. I just want to show blend mode. So great thing about Premiere is you select that in the opacity section, you've got blend modes built in. So if you want to just screen, add, it's right there. In the opacity section, blend mode. Just so you have all access to all the blend modes if you want to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That looks sick, dude.
It'll be fun. We could do a psychedelic version of Abbott. Yeah, I like all those effect options are awesome. The only thing is, I guess it's hard to tell like what clips have effects on them and which ones don't. I mean,
well,
it does have the like it turns this little effect icon
effects
like
badge.
purple.
Yeah,
like it'll tell you like, okay, there's some kind of effect on it, but it won't really like it is just very tiny, so you just kind of have to like.
Well, actually, if I think if you right click on the effects badge there. See, it does.
Oh yeah, I mean, I
list-
guess it does. Yeah, I guess you could right click and see all that. Yeah. Okay.
And so that will actually show you the keyframing for each of those attributes. So you can actually keyframe those in the timeline.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do it in the effect controls panel.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if I can. Because it's cool that you can right click and then enable the option, but then I don't know how you disable that at all though.
I think
'cause-
just select it again, maybe. I don't know. Oh no, yeah. Well, I think the default is either motion or opacity. I'm not sure what the default is. It could
right.
just be position or whatever. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah, oh,
But
yeah,
if
that's
you
right.
if you select the pen tool in the toolbar in the little tool thing in the right there, so if you select
Right.
the pen, you can actually just add keyframes right in the timeline. No, in
Oh,
the in
oh,
the
yeah, you're talking about this, right,
yeah,
right, yeah. So it's like if you hold down commands and then you can add keyframes and then like affect the opacity in real time.
yeah, and you can right click on it to get a Bezier curve and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't want that poster frame on the timeline thumbnail, you do that from the wrench menu in the timeline there.
Oh, the what'd
Yeah,
you say?
show video thumbnails right there. So if you uncheck that, it turns off the picture. So if that's distracting, you can turn it on and off from there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let me show you another thing. Okay, so select that clip that you did that affecting on. Hit copy, Command C, or whatever.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Okay, and then select another clip and go. Well, it should be Option V. It's Option V in my system.
Option Command V. Mhm.
Okay, so this is called copy paste attributes. So you can actually copy the attributes of any clip to another clip without having to go reapply it. So like if I wanted the same effect from one clip to another, but I don't want the motion and opacity and all that stuff to come along with it, you can uncheck the attributes you don't want to apply. But if you hit OK, just hit OK. And you can see that it applied that same settings to that other clip. So that is super handy when you're copying and pasting things from one attributes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that with volume all the time where it's like if I want to like mute
Yeah.
clips, I'll turn it down on one, and then as long as I just have audio selected, I'll do Command C, and then select every audio clip there is, Option Command V, and then and then you can enable like what you want to copy paste attributes to. So it's like if you had like panning involved or something in addition to, you can uncheck the panning and just enable volume, and then it'll copy paste it all down there. So
And then related to it, if you right click on it again, right click on that, there's also remove attributes. So you can selectively remove attributes from selected clips too.
Right.
Hey, what's the difference between channel volume and volume?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the same difference between gain and volume. Like people who adjust gain, you can hit G, and that'll bring up the gain menu. So you can adjust gain by like 3 decibels or -3 if you wanted to lower it or heighten it. So if you do that, it'll it's crushing the volume down a bit. But then volume though, like in this menu here, this is changing sort of the keyframe like volume, like kind of how it works in Avid, where you can add a keyframe on this guy and be more specific with like what sections you're lowering volume for.
Yeah, but the option said channel volume and volume. So which is one in the mixer and one's somewhere else?
Oh, channel volume.
Yeah, that one there. That one. Is that something from the mixer instead of from the clip?
Well, that is a clip level setting right there because you've got the clip selected.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, actually, and I'm actually not sure why that doesn't show up though as an option in the effects controls menu, Mel, because it's like if you copy paste attributes, there's volume.
Oh,
channel,
I see what you're saying.
And like so you have the options of volume and panner, but I don't know why it doesn't give you.
Can you open up the audio mixer?
There's a track mixer and clip mixer.
What does the clip mixer do?
Clip mixer affects like individual clips. So like depending on what you're parked on in the timeline, you'll affect the clips that you're hovered over on these channels.
As opposed to as opposed to the overall.
Yeah, well, you can actually have a track level volume
That's what-
or effect or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
But if you go to the
track
mixer, what's the difference between that and the mixer?
Again,
Yeah.
well, this Premiere works where there's a clip mixer and then there's a track mixer. So the track mixer is this, where it's going to affect everything on a track level.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But only on the part where you're at, right?
No.
No,
The track
no.
mixer is literally like a track level. Like for A1, if you pull this fader down to 0,
Oh, it's like a master for everything on A1.
well, effectively, yeah. And you can also have effects. This is where you, if you have a track level effect, this is where you would access that.
Okay.
I don't know, just some stuff in.
Yeah, and then so difference between those, yeah, it's like you want to affect things on a clip level or a track level, and like so the track mixer is important too for if you're editing and you want to do reverb effects. That's what you do here. And let's see. Yeah, like if you want. Oh yeah, what's that?
I wrote up a how-to for reverb too.
Oh, you
If
did?
you want to directly translate how the reverb, the deverb, and Avid works in Premiere,
Oh,
and I
great.
have a little cheat sheet on that too.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, as far as like all the specific settings to like really mirror it.
Yeah, and then how to do it, like how you want to do it at the track level and not the clip level, because it'll get you wonky results. If you're using the clip, it'll
Right.
end at the end of your clip.
Yep, totally. Yeah, because I know that I would play around with it, but I didn't know exactly like what if I could be more specific in terms of mirroring the Avid effect. But that'd be great to send out.
Yeah, if we can add it to like the template section or something.
Yeah, that would be easy. Just make a template sequence that has reverb in it, and it's the copying and pasting. I don't know how to do it from one project to the other, but it's it doesn't work the way Avid does. So I'll look into that.
Okay.
But you could at least look at it and copy the settings.
Yeah, that'd be good. Because otherwise it's just sort of like you can, when you're in the track mixer, you'll see how it is normal where you're given faders and panners, and if you actually want to go into the effects options for the track mixer, it's like you hit this little arrow up here that says show hide effects and sends. So that'll give you this drop down menu where you have a few different options to put multiple effects. So it's
So you can stack audio effects on the same.
You can stack like
just like the
track effects,
right,
so
right.
like in these different slots, so you have like a good amount of slots to work with. But yeah, if you added like a studio reverb effect, you can just double click on that and then it'll open up with the menu where you can adjust all these different settings. But yeah, no, if Deb has like something that actually matches Avid, that'd be great to just kind of make that and default to that. But yeah, and then also because you can do the same thing on the master too, like if you wanted to like add any sort of like
a global.
Yeah, like a global like I know I've like used stuff like this, like a hard limiter or something to like dumb it down, or like I've used like multi-band compressor I think before, where you have like kind of just different defaults and you can kind of set the margin of like where you want all your audio to hit if you wanted to maybe like boost everything up entirely, but then again you might want to just use gain and volume for all that.
It seems like Premiere doesn't need to render every time you add an audio effect.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you're talking about like rendering stuff like slow motion audio effects or EQ or something.
No, yeah, in audio and Avid, every time you do something like time compression or whatever, you always have to render to hear what it's doing.
Yeah, I think in Premiere basically it's as fast as your computer can handle. It tries to play it in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that yellow bar on the timeline there. That's kind of like a dynamic performance thing. It's basically saying, I'll try to play this as fast as I can. But if you had to render it, you could. You can actually force render it by selecting the in and out point, just kind of like in Avid. and then you just go up to the I think it's sequence menu. There's a shortcut for it, but and just render into out, and it'll render the audio effect if your system can't handle it.
Yeah. And then one last thing too in the mixer panel here is they for ABC and Hulu they gave us again this default sequence where they already had these tracks called like submix tracks, where they had one for dialogue, sound effects, and music. And you can go on the track mixer and see kind of how they have that set up. So like, because so they've labeled their first tracks like dialogue, like the first 4 are there, same, and then sound effects is next. And so if you scroll over, let's see. Yeah, like these are the actual submix tracks. So for like dialogue, sound effects, and music. And so what this is doing is, I wish I could.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's like they collected them and told them all to go in one bucket.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like the equivalent of like busing, because I think that like busing is sort of a standard like mixer technique where they take all the tracks that have dialogue on them, and then they tell all of them here to be like, okay, direct yourself to the dialogue submix. And so the dialogue submix is just one single like bus essentially, where it's inputting all those dialogue tracks into this dialogue submix, and so then you have control over all of those tracks at once. So it's like if you wanted to boost all your dialogue all at once, you can just get this fader and put it up to like 5, 7 or whatever, and it would reflect. And I think you can essentially I think do the same thing down here in the timeline where you can add keyframes, or you can just drag this fader up and down too. But if you wanted to keyframe it, you could do that as well with like adding keyframes and be like, okay, the dialogue, you should be louder here, but then lower, down to this level. So little
cool.
tricks like that can be helpful.
Wonder how that's gonna affect when it goes out to mix.
Yeah, well, we're talking about.
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, I could see a problem with Pro Tools.
Yeah.
It's like
well, we're hopefully going to talk to John Kelly Friday if we're lucky. We're going to ask him these very questions. So yeah, audio can be pretty deep in Premiere, and even I don't fully understand it. So, but the tools appear to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you want to like move on to like graphics and just importing things like alpha and things like that, or?
Oh, I mean, with graphics, I mean, because I did have like just some of the temp graphics from Avid and like,
so there's no concept of a Mac key in Premiere.
Yeah.
It just handles alphas natively. So if something has an alpha channel in it, whether it's a PNG or a QuickTime, you don't have to worry about it. You just drag it, it shows up.
Yeah.
So that's really all there is to know about graphics import.
Yeah.
You can change if the alpha is interpreting it correctly, you can change the interpretation and you right click on it on the clip, but that's basically all you need to know.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I mean, are there any other questions, or I don't know if there's anything?
Yeah, I don't get any graphics. All my graphics stuff is offline.
You have to link to it. It's in the temp graphics bin he uploaded.
Okay.
Is this still 22.2, Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one nice thing about the versions of Premiere after 22.2 is that Frame.io is built in to Premiere. So you can download things directly from Premiere. You can actually create your, cuts, videos right from Premiere. You don't have to export it, upload it into Frame.io, transfer it. It just happens right in Premiere. So that's kind of a nice thing with the integration, because Adobe owns Frame.io now. So
yeah, I haven't used that much, but yeah, if it was running smoothly when you did it, Mel, that's
sometimes it like Frame.io tends to be, it can be kind of flaky. Sometimes it flakes out and you restart and everything works again. So
Oh yeah, also like with workspaces too up here. Like everyone can kind of like also like play around and experiment like kind of how they want their specific setup to go. It can be kind of finicky where let's see. So I mean, I'm just switching to, I kind of just switched to a 2-screen workspace. But I know that like when I've like got like said like go to and then like either oh wait. Like yeah, it's like I think it's like if I was in this workspace for example, and then like I started moving things around and changing how I want my setup to look, I can go up to here and say like save as new workspace, and then it should save as a new workspace. But in my experience, it's been kind of finicky where it's like if I've gone back to uh, another workspace and then selected my new workspace that I just created, it'll like it just won't save, and so I kind of have to like select it again, move everything around again, and then once I say save changes to this workspace, then it should work. But you have the ability to then like customize any number of workspaces that you want up here. It's just a matter of like you just start with a workspace, change it all around, and then it should be like save as new workspace or save changes to this workspace. Just the only other little thing I could think of. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else, Mel?
There probably are, but I wonder if that's enough for.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, any other questions that come to mind now for people? I don't know, but
I mean, if you have specific questions.
yeah, it's just a matter of like, yeah, I think people playing around with like the actual editing functions and sequence functions for pulling selects and things like that. But that covers the general idea of how to work. So
maybe people can play around for the next day or two, and then Thursday we can have the what do you want to learn next?
Yeah.
Where did you hit the wall?
Yeah.
Or reach out to Mel or Austin before that. You can reach out to me, and I'll be useless. But
again, it's just to try to do stuff when you need to know how to do it, figure it out, and if you can't, let us know. But
I think it's also gonna be interesting because like I know like it's been years since I was in the Premiere space, but I think even then I was very siloed versus having to share things with people and have them be able to open it up and use things. So I think it's like as we get into this, I don't want to learn bad habits if I'm, so I think that'll be key. And I'll keep it simple, go back to the basics from my standpoint, just be like in, out, here's a select sequence. Are you able to open it up? And does it not bog down your system?
Sorry, maybe we covered this early on, but in the productions panel, there's like a project locked thing. Like, so what if I have template open?
So this is where we didn't want to necessarily spend too much time talking about that part of the productions, because this is where things like LucidLink and stuff comes in. Usually the Adobe intends for you to use productions on a single shared storage medium. So like if you're working off a Nexus or something. So it's just like an Avid. If you open up a bin, it shows up as locked for everybody else. But if we were going to do this remotely, we would have to use a system that shows those locks, which is basically LucidLink. You can, however, do it how we do it in Avid, where we just, I've uploaded to Google Drive. You manually copy it in to your local production and do it that way. It's not the best way of doing things with productions, but it will work. So the locks are just like in Avid, where all they are is just a file. Like in Avid, I think it's a .lck file. In Premiere, it's a PR lock file. So if somebody accidentally uploads a bin or something that has that, you'll show up as project locked, and you just, if you're working locally, you just delete it, and it'll let you have access to the thing. But yeah, productions is based on a kind of a first come first serve paradigm. So if you open it up, it writes a lock file, and nobody can write to it. You can read from it. You just can't write to it. So
So same idea, yeah. And we're just not there yet with the Lucid Link.
yeah, well, again, that's the second level of this whole new
Okay.
workflow is trying to figure out because there are multiple options for collaboration, and we're still trying to hammer out which one would be the best. So,
Yeah.
But ideally, if you're working off a Lucid Link, yeah, if everyone's working off Lucid, yeah, you could be in LA, and if you have the bin open at the Nook, that person in LA will see that you have that project locked, and when you close it, it will be unlocked. So that's how we would work remotely. But again, we got to figure out that.
Well, should we make sure that we close all of our bins before we try to move anything?
Yeah, it's the same type of thing with Avid.
Yeah.
Like, you should close and save all your work if you're intending to upload a G drive. Close and save, and make sure there's no lock files. Because I would work in the same like like the production has crashed for me, for example, and like when it crashes, the lock files just stay put. Like so like when you open up the production, I have to go to the Finder level, delete the lock files again, so I can like actually access my bins again.
And that and that also brings up an issue that's similar to Avid. It's like you cannot duplicate bins at the Finder level because it'll freak out. You can't, so if you need to duplicate a bin or a project, you do it from the production panel. Yeah. And a lot of times what will happen is Avid or Premiere will crash. And what happens sometimes when it crashes, it writes kind of a recover. It says recover. It's like a recovery file. Basically, it's a copy of the project right before it crashed. And next time you open up the project, it's going to freak out and say, hey, there's 2 copies of this bin or this project. Which one do you want to use? So that you need to like delete the recovery project. And that's one of the things I kind of don't like about productions is that how are you supposed to know whether the recovery project is the most recent one or not? But that will happen. And if that does happen, you just got to move the recovery project out of the production. Otherwise, Premiere is just going to freak out because there's duplicate bins with duplicate bin IDs. So it's similar to Avid in that respect. So yeah, you never want to mess with anything with the production at the Finder level, except for making like folders, maybe.
And because Mel, I don't know, like again, how much to like push this, but like for like current cuts, for example, like, do you think it's fine to at least just have like maybe make current cuts, old cuts folders in that, or would you say you would prefer to have like a current cuts project bin and an old cuts project bin?
A part of me feels like for now you can do it however you want to do it, and then you'll find out. You may or may not find out why you don't want to do it that way. Sure. Because the terminology is confusing as it is. So making bins inside of a project is how you always used to do it. So if you just want to get up to speed of how Premiere works, let alone productions, just do it whatever is comfortable for you, and at least you'll know, why you may or may not want to do it that way. So
I just think that like start for now. It's like I think I'd like to see how it looks if people do like this, where like we have like you have a project for every general sort of piece of the project, but inside that you can create your cuts.
I'm fine with doing that because there's going to come to a point where you're going to go, oh, now I understand why they don't want you to do it that way. But it's fine to do it this way for now.
Just to see how it looks like a little bit more consolidated. But then if we start running into issues, we can do that. But I think generally it's like it'll be, because again, there's no like there's going to be no like sort of like master sources AMA, master sources like for the productions that we'll be working in, it'll be that one bin that's the master sources proxies where we're going to put everything in and distribute to everyone, and so people can like have this project open at the same time as their cuts bin, and just start and then just pull from that and edit things into their own projects. Same with graphics, it's like ideally we can hopefully work with just one graphics project bin like this, and then put like any graphics we want to make sure we share with everyone, we can put in a temp graphics folder, master graphics folder, different types of folders and stuff. But
something I'm curious about graphics. Because we're not transcoding to like kind of like a proxy essentially with graphics. Like when I upload like an After Effects render, they can be anywhere from like a few hundred megabytes to like a gigabyte. Do you want me to upload that source even though that full res source will take longer to upload so that it links successfully without dealing with proxies?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I would think that that's the ideal way to work, Mel. I mean, unless
Well, that's an interesting topic because, you know, the Adobe stuff has dynamic link, right? So you could theoretically drag an After Effects project comp into the Premiere timeline, and it renders that comp in Premiere. In theory, if you were working with sources that we already have, and we can link to them, you should just be able to like send us the After Effects project file, and that's all you need. You wouldn't need to send it. You wouldn't need to render it on your side. We would render it on our side. In theory, we can try that. We should probably just try that just to see how well it works. I'm kind of superstitious about it from many years ago. That dynamic link in Premiere projects tends to be unstable.
Really slow. Yeah.
It's slow.
Yeah. That's why it's like. I mean, well, yeah. That's why I thought we should probably stick with just actual like MOV renders, right, to work with. But
that's the safest way to do it. It would be great if all you had to do was send us the After Effects file. You know.
I think when I've used dynamic link, it's been for captions that like have some sort of animated effect that only exists in After Effects.
For stuff like that, it should be okay, I think.
That's like easy enough and like the program can handle it, but it sounds
and if worse comes to worse, you're right. If the worst comes to worse, if it's unstable on our side, we should be able to just render it on our side to a self-contained QuickTime file, and we bring it back in, and then we sync it back.
I'm just trying to make it easy for like the editor too. So whatever is the most intuitive and fastest, I'll just upload renders for now unless it becomes a problem.
Yeah, again, the critical thing about Adobe Workflow is everything is linked media. So as long as we have the media, and we have to be really diligent about how we upload things to Frame too. So the folders in Frame, the Frame project should mirror the same structure of the media folders that you have locally. So if somebody uploads something in graphics, that's the exact folder and subfolder. You should download it locally. That way we won't have linking issues, and it'll be easy.
What if we're rendering out to proxy for most renders, because we swap out, After Effects renders a lot, and then when it's ready to finish, then you do a higher res format, unless you're just getting a keyable graphic from Lin, then it's rendered out at 4444.
What do you mean?
Like if they give us just a title that needs to go over any background we choose, then it's rendered out as Apple Pro as 4444. But otherwise,
as a comp, right? As a non-alpha,
is anything that's not an alpha is rendered out as proxy, and then when it goes to finish, then it's up res or it's rendered out at high res. Because a lot of times we end up re-rendering when it's ready to finish. We end up re-rendering anyway to make it the exact length or
clean it up.
Yeah.
We can do that. You can definitely do that.
Okay. So I should aim to create proxies with graphics. Okay.
Yeah. There's another feature of that dynamic link is that if you select an After Effects comp in the Premiere timeline, you can tell it to render, I forgot what it's called. Can you right click? Can you select like those graphics, Austin? And then just right click on it? No, in the timeline. Just select them and just right click on it. There's that thing that's render and replace. Yeah. So that is another option you can do is you render and replace. So we can have a live After Effects comp in the timeline, but then we would just render a proxy on whoever, with whatever end needs it. But then you can always revert back to the After Effects project if need be. That's one way around it, but maybe it would be simpler just to render a proxy. I think we just have to be consistent about the workflow.
I guess that's like, if you're rendering comps, it's like, if they're basically temp, then I take it like Lin would just render proxies until we're getting to like the final thing, and then because then it's like they can just render us a full thing. And
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
oh, what?
No, I mean, ideally, we would be able to use the After Effects dynamic link, because you wouldn't, as long as we have the same media that you're linked to in your After Effects project, you should, all you have to do is send the After Effects project and not the media. And
No,
then-
right, yeah. Well, yeah,
um,
just thinking like how stable that. I just don't know how stable that is for like
Right.
big projects like
Wouldn't
Yeah,
that,
I've
wouldn't
had a
that,
lot of issues with that, so
Yeah.
I would like to just stick to
okay,
rendering.
yeah, I think
it.
that's fine. I think that's
Also-
smart.
also,
I was
wouldn't it
just
cause a problem for what kind of subscription we've got? Because obviously you'd need the full suite. If you
Well,
needed
that
After
there's
Effects
that as
stuff.
well. That's another consideration. So, but I think we're all on full suite. So for now, it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, that's why I posed that question in the minutes channel about that. But that's another discussion. But yeah, I think just stick with what you're doing. As long as we have the folders structures mirrored, everybody's working with the same folder structures on Frame locally. Because what's been happening is sometimes it's like in the heat of things will get lost in Frame.io. I'm like, where is it? And it's hard to find sometimes. So as long as everybody sticks to the protocol, the folders should be okay.
But also with the renders again, like I mean, because I almost wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if I should just advocate for just having the graphics just be rendered out as high res, and then we just have them in the timeline for when we render. But I guess we're talking about like just as we're making like temp graphics. I mean, because I don't know how big graphic renders can get, but I guess
Yeah.
they can range kind of, Lynn.
Yeah, they can range. If I'm like rendering out like a graphics like render to overlay the entire sequence, which I sometimes do to make things easier, then it's like a gigabyte sometimes, and it'll take forever for me to upload. So I think it makes more sense to just like for me to render like an H.264 or like something that's passable or like a proxy, and then just send that over and upload that. So that way, like I'll have to per deb, like I'll have to render a high res at the end anyway. So I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like you would like overcut it essentially at the end is what you're.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think because I don't know if we can replace it at all, but yeah.
Well, you can't. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good point. Is I don't know if the time code preserves in H.264 is out of Adobe, but if it does, yeah, you can just do a replace edit.
Yeah.
And that should work as long as the in and out points of your renders aren't different. Yeah, that should work.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Anything else?
I think completely saturated. So
This is never ending. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
I gotta jump off, but I think as far as I can tell, I have a pretty easy day. So if anyone wants to do a one-on-one, I'm open.
yeah, and I think maybe moving forward to like obviously there's skills that the editors need and have more than like maybe me and Jace and Julia will need and already have currently. I think obviously I would love to know as much as possible, and I think that's going to come from me just poking around and making selects and running into hurdles. But if there are things that the editors want and need as far as tutorials, like I think that we can prioritize that too, knowing that we want to get that as streamlined as possible while we're also working on our workflow in the background. And it would be good to have like a clear idea and sense and of how that will go to when we eventually have that all worked out.
Yeah.
I know we have an idea already, but like
yeah.
Yeah, really, it's just like start editing, start messing around, and when you can't figure out something, if it's quicker, just to ask us, like, how do I do this stupid thing?
Yeah.
We can answer it rather than you looking at a YouTube video for 20 minutes, you know. So whenever you have those questions,
if people want to just start playing around and then just kind of collect some more questions on by Thursday, and then we can kind of maybe just hear the list of questions and kind of figure out time to like block out time to kind of go over them more in depth. I think that could be a nice next step. And then I think right after this, if everyone can actually just download all the proxies that are up there in that test folder, go ahead and download those and just make sure that you can relink them without any headaches. And let me or Mel know like if that was smooth or not. That because that would be good to know, just to make sure that like editors can relink to a batch of clips if they needed to.
So what are we doing? We're just downloading the proxies and making sure that we can online them into the
Just
project.
link them into the project. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I would say just do that as a next step. And then once you do that, go ahead and just start playing around with more stuff. And then yeah, whatever issues you find, let me or Mel know. And then, or like as you're experimenting more and more, you know, collect any questions and we can talk about them on Thursday.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, is there a quick way to delete a bunch of audio tracks?
What's that?
Is there a quick way to delete like 5
Yes.
or 6 audio tracks?
Yes.
Good. Thanks. All I needed to know.
Look it up, like my dad would
Wait.
say.
I'll let you know on Thursday if I found it.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
thanks everyone. Yeah.
Later.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.